Captain Lee Hyen floated through the narrow corridors of the salvage vessel Broken Dreams, his magnetic boots clicking against the metal floor with each careful step. Outside the thick viewports, the void sectors stretched endlessly, a graveyard of forgotten stations and dying worlds that the Galactic Council had written off as worthless. The ship groaned around him, its old hull protesting against the vacuum of space. Everything here was broken, patched, held together by hope and spare parts, just like the crew. "Captain," called Kira from the navigation station, her voice carrying the slow, measured cadence of the thoughtful ones. Her pale blue skin seemed to glow in the dim light as her large, dark eyes processed the star charts with methodical precision. "I have completed analysis of the next sector. 17 derelict vessels, possibly 3 with salvageable components." Hyun watched her work with quiet admiration. The Galactic Council called her species defective because they thought too slowly, processed information with too much care. But Kira's patience had saved them from more dangerous salvage runs than he could count. While other crews rushed in and triggered old defense systems or structural collapses, Kira's careful planning kept them alive. "Good work," Hyun said. "Mark the safe approaches." In the workshop section, Park Jin bent over a piece of twisted metal, his hands glowing with soft energy as he reshaped it into something beautiful. The young man's face showed deep concentration as he coaxed the metal into flowing, organic curves. Around him, other members of the Shaper species worked on similar projects, turning their salvaged junk into works of art. The Council had exiled the Shapers for being inefficient. Their creations served no practical purpose, wasted resources on beauty when function was all that mattered. But Jin's sculptures lifted the spirits of everyone aboard the ship. In the endless gray of the void sectors, beauty became a form of survival. "Another flower," observed Minho, one of the few humans aboard, watching Jin work. "You could make weapons or tools instead." Jin smiled sadly. "Beauty feeds the soul. Without it, we are just machines." Down in the medical bay, Dr. Yunsu moved between her patients with gentle grace. Her empathic abilities allowed her to sense their pain, their fear, their desperate hope. The Council classified empaths like her as mentally unstable, too sensitive for civilized society. But here, among the outcasts, her gift made her irreplaceable. A young refugee from the Harmony species lay on one of the medical beds, his crystalline skin cracked and dull from malnutrition. His people were pacifists, exiled for refusing to serve in the Council's military forces. Dr. Yoon placed her hand on his forehead and felt his suffering as if it were her own. "The pain will pass," she whispered, injecting him with their precious remaining medical supplies. "Rest now." The Harmony being's colors brightened slightly as hope flowed through the empathic connection. It was a small miracle, but in the void sectors, small miracles kept him going. Kim Tae worked at the communications station, constantly monitoring for supply drops, distress signals, or worse, Council patrol ships. His species, the Connectors, could interface directly with computer systems, but the Council found their cybernetic implants disturbing and unnatural. Here, his abilities kept their ancient systems running. "Captain," Kim called out, his voice tight with worry. "Another supply drop missed us. That's the 3rd one this month." Haeyeon felt the familiar weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. 27 souls aboard this ship, all depending on him to keep them alive. Some were genetic experiments that had failed to meet the Council's standards. Others came from species that had refused to conform to galactic norms. A few, like him, were simply born in the wrong place at the wrong time. "How long can we stretch our current supplies?" he asked. "Maybe 2 weeks," Kim replied after checking the ship's databases. "The water recyclers are failing, and we're down to emergency rations." Through the viewports, Haeyeon could see other ships in their small convoy. The medical vessel Last Hope carried refugees too sick to work. The transport New Dawn housed families with children, the hardest cases to place anywhere else in the galaxy. All of them looked to him for answers he didn't have. In the distance, a massive space station slowly tumbled through the void, its lights flickering like a dying heartbeat. Station Omega-7 had been home to nearly 10,000 outcasts before. Its power systems began failing. Now, maybe a few hundred remained, unwilling or unable to leave. "Captain," Dr. Yoon called from the medical bay, her voice carrying through the ship's intercom. "I'm picking up emotional distress from the station. Fear, desperation. They're running out of time." Hyun closed his eyes and made another impossible decision. They barely had enough supplies for their own people, but he couldn't abandon the station's survivors. That was what separated them from the council. They still believed every life mattered. "Set course for the station," he ordered. "We'll see what we can do." As the broken dreams adjusted course, none of them knew that far across the galaxy, a small blue planet called Earth had just detected its first signal from deep space, a cry for help that would change everything. The signal came like a whisper in the dark, so faint that communications officer Song Min almost missed it entirely. She was monitoring the deep space arrays during the quiet night shift aboard Earth's orbital station when the pattern caught her attention. Not random cosmic noise, but something deliberate, desperate. "This is strange," Min muttered, adjusting her equipment to clean up the transmission. The signal originated from beyond the edge of their star charts, in a region marked simply as empty space. But as she enhanced the audio, she could hear something that made her heart race. Voices. Alien voices. Calling for help. Min immediately contacted Captain Choi Ben aboard the exploration vessel Harmony, Earth's most advanced ship and humanity's first real attempt at deep space exploration. The captain had been sleeping when the call came, but he arrived on the bridge within minutes, still pulling on his uniform. "Show me what you found," Choi said, his voice calm but alert. Min played the enhanced signal through the bridge speakers. Even cleaned up, it was hard to understand, but the desperation was clear in every crackling word. "Computer analysis suggests multiple alien languages mixed together," she reported. "But listen to this part." She isolated a section where the universal mathematical constants came through clearly, a basic method for establishing communication with unknown species. But what followed those numbers was pure terror. "They're dying," whispered Science Officer Bae-soo, who had arrived with the captain. "Whatever's out there, they don't have much time." Engineer Namho pulled up his sensor readings on the main screen. "I'm detecting massive energy signatures from that region. It looks like ... a space station. But it's huge, bigger than anything we've ever built, and the power readings are dropping fast." Captain Choi studied the data, his mind racing. Earth's first contact protocols were clear: observe from a distance, gather information, report back to command. The politicians back home had been very specific about avoiding any situations that might drag humanity into galactic conflicts. "Sir," Nam continued, "at the rate their power is failing, whatever's out there won't survive another week. Maybe less." The bridge fell silent as the crew absorbed this information. They had trained for first contact scenarios, imagined meeting advanced alien civilizations with technology far beyond their own, but they had never expected to find aliens who needed their help. "We could launch a probe," suggested Bae. "Send it ahead to gather more information before we commit to anything." "That would take days," Nam pointed out. "Days they might not have." Choi looked out at the stars through the bridge viewport, thinking about every rescue mission in human history, from ancient sailors pulling shipwreck survivors from stormy seas, to modern emergency responders risking their lives for strangers. Humanity had always had one defining characteristic: they helped those in need. "Prep the ship for jump," he ordered. "We're going to help them." "Sir," Bae protested. "Earth Command specifically said." "Earth Command isn't here," Choi interrupted. "We are, and there are people dying out there who need help. That's all I need to know." The Harmony launched toward the unknown region of space, its small crew of 50 humans aboard humanity's most advanced vessel. As they approached the coordinates, their sensors revealed something incredibly massive space station, easily 10 times larger than Earth's biggest orbital city, slowly tumbling through the void. My God, breathed Nam, staring at his readings. It's beautiful. The station was indeed beautiful, but in a tragic way. Its hull showed signs of countless repairs, patches upon patches, holding it together. What had once been elegant architecture now looked desperate and worn. Lights flickered across its surface like a heartbeat growing weaker. Multiple life forms detected, reported Min. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. As the Harmony approached, smaller ships began emerging from the station's docking bay's vessels that looked more like assembled scrap metal than proper spacecraft. But they moved with purpose, forming what looked like a protective formation around the human ship. They're not attacking, observed Bay with surprise. I think they're escorting us. Captain Choi opened communication channels. This is Captain Choi, Ben, of the Earth vessel Harmony. We received your distress signal and have come to offer assistance. The response came quickly, in broken, but understandable English, that their computer had apparently helped translate. Human ship, this is Captain Lee Hyen of the vessel Broken Dreams. You came for us, but we are nothing. We are the galaxy's refuse, the unwanted ones. Something in the alien captain's voice, the mixture of hope and disbelief, something deep in Choi's heart. Captain Hyen, where we come from, everyone matters. What do you need? The silence that followed lasted so long that Choi wondered if they had lost the connection. When Captain Hyen's voice returned, it was thick with emotion. No one has ever asked us that question before. As the Harmony docked with the massive station, Captain Choi and his crew prepared to step into a larger universe than they had ever imagined. They expected to find advanced alien technology and superior civilizations. Instead, they found something far more important: people who needed help, and who had given up hope that anyone would ever care enough to provide it. The first human to set foot in the galactic community would do so not as conqueror or supplicant, but as a rescuer, extending a helping hand to those the galaxy had forgotten. Dr. Yoon Soo walked through the gardens of New Geneva Colony, her empathic senses overwhelmed by something she had never experienced before, pure contentment radiating from everyone around her. Children laughed as they played, parents watched with genuine joy, and even the workers seemed happy in their tasks. It was so different from the desperate fear that had filled the void sectors. This is impossible, she whispered to herself, then louder to Colony Administrator Park Da, who was showing her around. How do you maintain such emotional balance? The council teaches that happiness makes people weak and lazy. Park Da smiled as she watched a group of human children teaching young shapers how to paint murals on the colony walls. The artwork was chaotic and beautiful, covering every surface with bright colors and impossible shapes. We learned something important in our history, she explained. Happy people work harder, think better, and live longer. Fear might get quick results, but joy builds civilizations. Dr. Yoon placed her hand on a nearby wall, feeling the emotions embedded in the artwork itself. The young shapers had poured their hope and wonder into every brushstroke, creating something that lifted the spirits of everyone who saw it. The council would destroy all of this, she said sadly. They would call it wasteful decoration. We tried the council's way once, Park Da replied. During our 20th century, we built cities focused only on function. Gray concrete boxes, where people lived like machines. It nearly broke our species. We learned that beauty isn't waste, it's what makes life worth living. In the tactical center across the colony, Kira sat surrounded by human military officers, her large dark eyes studying holographic battle scenarios with the slow, careful attention her species was known for. General Ruwan watched patiently as she processed each detail, never rushing or demanding faster answers. Analysis complete, Kira finally announced, her voice carrying the measured tone that had once made her seem defective to the Council. Enemy formation shows weakness in Sector 7. Suggested response: faint attack from Sector 3, main assault through Sector 7, after enemy commits reserves. The human officers nodded, making notes on their datapads. 6 months ago, the Council had rejected Kira's tactical recommendations for being too slow. Now, human commanders competed to have her analyze their most important operations. "Your patience saved us again," General Rue told her. "The Council's fast decisions might look impressive, but your careful thinking wins battles." Kira felt something she had never experienced before: pride in her abilities, rather than shame for her differences. The humans didn't see her slow processing as a flaw, but as a valuable skill that prevented costly mistakes. Meanwhile, in the engineering workshops, Kim Tae worked alongside human designers who had revolutionized how they thought about shaper art. Where the Council saw only useless decoration, the humans saw untapped potential. "Look at this," said Chief Engineer Lee Jun, showing Kim a sculpture that Jin had created the week before. "It's beautiful, but watch this." He activated a control, and the sculpture began to glow, its organic curves channeling and focusing light throughout the room. Solar collection and distribution built into a work of art. Kim stared in amazement as more examples filled the workshop. Sculptures that purified air while creating peaceful sounds, decorative panels that strengthened walls while displaying ever-changing patterns, musical instruments that also served as communication devices. "We're not choosing between beauty and function anymore," Lee explained. "We're learning that the best designs have both." Jin entered the workshop at that moment, carrying a new creation of flowing metal form that seemed to dance even while standing still. "The humans want to put this in their hospital," he told Kim excitedly. "They say it will help patients heal faster by making them feel peaceful." For the first time in his life, Jin's art had real value beyond just personal expression. The humans had shown him that beauty could heal, inspire, and strengthen communities. He wasn't a useless dreamer anymore. He was a vital part of something bigger. That evening, the former outcasts gathered in their usual meeting place, a quiet garden where they could speak freely among themselves. But their conversations had changed over the past months. Instead of survival plans and desperate hopes, they talked about projects, dreams, and contributions to their new home. "We are not broken," Jin said quietly, his words carrying new confidence. "We were just in the wrong place, trying to fit into a system that couldn't see our value." Dr. Yoon nodded, feeling the contentment flowing from each of her friends. "The humans don't try to fix us. They ask how they can help us be our best selves." But their peaceful moment was interrupted when Commander Yang Su arrived with a grim expression. The human military officer carried a datapad filled with troubling intelligence reports. "I'm sorry to disturb you," Yang said, "but you need to know. Our deep space monitors have detected Council survey ships at the edge of our territory. They're not exploring, they're asking questions about missing outcasts and primitive humans who interfere with galactic order." Kira's analytical mind immediately understood the implications. "They know we are here. They consider us stolen property." "The Council has never tolerated defiance," Dr. Yoon added, her empathic abilities sensing the fear that Yang was trying to hide. "They will come to reclaim us and punish the humans for interfering." Yang nodded grimly. "Our estimates suggest we have maybe 2 months before they arrive in force. The question is, are we ready to fight for what we've built here?" The former outcasts looked around their beautiful garden, thinking of the human children who played with shaper art, the hospitals where empathic healing saved lives, and the tactical centers where careful thinking protected everyone. They had found something worth defending, but the Council's power seemed impossible to resist. The galaxy's trash had become something precious, but keeping it would require them to become something they had never been before: heroes. The message came without warning, cutting through every communication channel across human space like a knife through silence. On Earth, in the orbital colonies, aboard every ship and station, screens flickered to life, showing the same terrifying image. High Counselor, Vexter of the Galactic Council. His face was perfect in the way that made humans uncomfortable too. Symmetrical and cold, to be natural. His silver eyes held no warmth, no compassion, only the absolute certainty of someone who had never been wrong about anything. Primitive humans. His voice echoed through the emergency session in Earth's capital building, where President Onsiosia Shi sat surrounded by his advisors and their alien friends. You have made a grave error. You harbor criminals, the rejected genetic failures we cast into the void sectors for the protection of civilized space. Dr. Yun-Su felt the wave of fear that swept through the room as the Council's ultimatum continued. Her empathic abilities picked up every emotion: terror from the younger officials, anger from the military commanders, and something deeper from the former outcasts, the old familiar feeling of being unwanted. These defective beings are our property, Vextar continued, his perfect face showing no emotion. They were exiled for good reason. Their genetic flaws, their mental instabilities, their cultural backwardness, all of these make them dangerous to galactic order. Return them to us within 10 standard cycles, or face the consequences of your ignorance. The transmission ended, leaving the room in stunned silence. 10 cycles, roughly 2 weeks in human time. Defense Minister Ko Young was the first to speak, his voice tight with barely controlled anger. They're not even pretending to negotiate, he said. No discussion, no diplomacy, just demands. President On looked around the room at faces both human and alien. Kira sat at the strategic display, her large dark eyes already processing the implications. Jin stood with the other shapers, his artistic hands clenched into fists. Kim Tae monitored the communications equipment, tracking the Council's fleet movements in real time. What are we facing? Un asked quietly. Kira's response came slowly, as always, but with devastating clarity. Analysis complete. Council fleet composition detected. 1,200 vessels of various classes. 43 different species technologies. Integrated under standard hierarchical command structure. She paused, her careful mind working through the tactical possibilities. They expect quick victory through overwhelming force. Admiral Wang Jun pulled up the fleet comparisons on the main screen. The numbers were sobering. Humanity's entire space fleet consisted of maybe 200 ships. Most of them converted civilian vessels with basic weapons. Against the Council's massive armada, they looked like toys. We can't win a straight fight, Wang admitted, his military training forcing him to face the harsh reality. Even with our alien friends' help, we're completely outmatched. The room fell into despair as everyone absorbed this truth. Dr. Yoon could feel hope draining away from the humans around her, replaced by the bitter acceptance of defeat. But something else caught her attention, a different emotion coming from her fellow outcasts. The Council has ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years, she said slowly, her empathic insights revealing something important. In all that time, they have never faced united resistance. Their perfection has become their weakness. It makes them predictable. Jin stepped forward from where he had been standing with the other shapers. His artistic mind saw patterns that others missed, connections that pure logic couldn't find. What if we don't fight the way they expect? He asked. What if we use the very things they threw away against them? General Ruan looked up from the tactical displays with interest. Explain. They exiled us because we were different, Jin continued, his confidence growing. But here, our differences became strengths. Kira's slow thinking prevents mistakes. Dr. Yoon's empathy helps us understand each other. My people's art serves practical purposes. What they saw as flaws, humans turned into advantages. Kim Tae spoke up from his position at the communications station. The Council's command structure is completely hierarchical. Every decision flows down from the top, but our network is— He paused, searching for the right words. Organic. Connected. We share information instantly, across all levels. Dr. Yoon felt the mood in the room begin to shift, as understanding dawned. They will expect us to fight like them: organized formations, predictable tactics, military hierarchy. But we are not them. Kira's analytical mind was already working through the possibilities. Irregular warfare, asymmetric tactics. Use their expectations against them. Her eyes brightened as she saw the potential. They have never encountered an enemy that fights with unified chaos. President An looked around the room at the mix of species, the combination of human adaptability and alien uniqueness that the Council saw as contamination. Are you saying we can actually win this? Not win the way they understand winning, Jin replied, his artist's vision, seeing something beyond simple military victory. But we can show them that their perfect order isn't the only way. We can prove that strength comes from difference, not uniformity. Outside, emergency broadcasts were already going out to every human world and allied station. The Council's great fleet was moving toward human space, confident in their overwhelming superiority, but they were coming to fight an enemy they had never encountered before. One built, not on perfection, but on the revolutionary idea that everyone had value. The galaxy's trash was about to become something that Council had never imagined possible. United, determined, and ready to fight for the simple principle that every being deserved a chance to belong somewhere. The first Council ships appeared at the edge of human space like a wall of stars, their perfect formations stretching across the darkness in geometric precision. Admiral Zethmer stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the primitive human defenses with cold satisfaction. This would be over quickly. 1,200 ships against their pathetic fleet, he told his officers. We will crush them in the first hour and reclaim our property. But as the Council armada moved forward, something strange began to happen. The human ships didn't form the expected battle lines. Instead, they scattered like leaves in the wind, moving in patterns that made no tactical sense. Sir, reported his tactical officer, confusion clear in his voice. The enemy fleet is— I don't understand their formation. It appears completely random. Zethmer frowned. In 1,000 years of galactic dominance, the Council had never encountered chaos in space combat. Every species they had conquered fought with orderly formations, predictable strategies, logical command structures. This was something else entirely. On the human command ship, Captain Choi Bin watched his tactical display with calm confidence. Around him, the mixed crew of humans and former outcasts worked in perfect harmony, sharing information instantly through Dr. Yoon-Soo's empathic network. Kira's defensive positions are working perfectly, reported Commander Yang-Soo. The Council ships are moving exactly where she predicted. Months of careful calculation had gone into this moment. Kira's slow, methodical mind had studied every Council battle in recorded history, finding patterns in their perfection. She had designed not standard battle formations, but defensive positions that would turn the enemy's overwhelming strength into a weakness. Enemy flagship moving into Sector 7, Kira announced, her calm voice carrying across the communication network to every allied ship. Probability of tactical error now at 87%. The Council's hierarchical command structure, so efficient in normal circumstances, became a fatal flaw when facing an enemy that shared information instantly. While Admiral Zethmer waited for reports to flow up through proper channels, the Alliance fleet adapted in real time. But the real surprise came when the Council forces encountered the Shaper ships. Jin and his people had spent months working with human engineers, creating vessels that were works of art and weapons of war combined. The ships moved through space like living creatures, their organic curves and flowing lines completely alien to Council thinking. What are those things? Gasped a Council pilot as a Shaper vessel flowed past his cockpit like a metallic whale. its beautiful form somehow deeply disturbing to his mind trained on geometric perfection. The psychological effect was devastating. Council crews, raised on the belief that perfection meant rigid, straight lines and predictable angles, found themselves facing ships that seemed to dance through space. The beautiful chaos of the Shaper designs created fear and uncertainty in warriors who had never experienced doubt. Dr. Yun-Su sat at the center of the empathic network, her consciousness linked to every allied ship through the former outcast empaths scattered throughout the fleet. Through this connection, she could coordinate their movements like a single organism, but more importantly, she could project their unified determination directly into the minds of Council soldiers. For the first time in their perfect lives, the Council's warriors felt something they had never experienced. Uncertainty, doubt crept into their minds as the empathic network broadcast the unshakable conviction of the Alliance, the absolute belief that every being mattered, that no one was trash, that freedom was worth any sacrifice. Impossible, whispered Admiral Zethmer as his perfectly organized fleet began to falter. Ship after ship reported confusion, equipment failures, crews unable to focus on their duties. How can inferior beings resist our superior force? The answer came when Captain Choi Ben responded to the Admiral's demand for surrender. His voice, calm and determined, echoed across every communication frequency in the battle zone. Admiral, we don't abandon family. These beings you call trash are our friends, our colleagues, our teachers. We will not give them up, and we will not give up on them. That simple statement, broadcast to every ship in both fleets, carried more power than any weapon. The Council crews heard it and felt something crack in their perfect certainty. The Alliance forces heard it and fought with renewed strength. The battle raged for 3 days, but the outcome was decided in that first hour when the Council's perfect order met unified chaos and found it could not adapt. When Admiral Zethmer finally ordered the retreat, it marked the first military defeat in the Council's 1,000-year history on worlds across the galaxy. Subject species watched the impossible happen. The mighty Council, with their superior technology in overwhelming numbers, had been beaten by a collection of primitives and rejects. More importantly, they had been beaten by the simple idea that everyone deserved a chance to belong somewhere. Months later, Li Heian walked through the gardens of New Earth Colony, breathing air that smelled of growing things and freedom. Around him, human children played with young shapers, their laughter mixing with the soft music of artistic creations. Kira worked with human engineers in nearby workshops, her patient methods helping design cities built to last forever. Dr. Yun-Su had established the Galactic Empathic Institute, where beings from across space learned to heal the wounds of rejection and exclusion. We are no longer the unwanted, Heian told President on SAO, as they watched the future being built around them. But more importantly, we have shown the galaxy that there is no such thing as trash-only potential waiting for the right hands to shape it. Across the galaxy, the rigid order that had ruled for a millennium began to crack. Through those cracks, hope grew like flowers in concrete, spreading the revolutionary idea that strength came not from perfection, but from embracing every difference, every flaw, every beautiful imperfection that made life worth living. The trash had become heroes, and their victory would echo through the stars forever.